All right. Okay, guys, we are live. What is going? Okay, guys, we are live. I don't know if that had it right there. So anyway, yeah, enough with the preamble and all that stuff. Welcome to Question About the Magic. Of course, like I said, Anthony is not here for this one. We have another in-person interview today. My guest is Evan Madison. He is a musician. He goes to SUNY Oswego with me, and all that stuff. He's in the Digital Music Association and vice president of that, and he's also a part of the audio board there. And we're here to talk about his music that he's been doing and all that stuff. And Evan, thank you for being on the show.
No problem, man. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk a little bit. One of the questions I usually ask people for the first time is what is your musical journey?
My musical journey. Okay. Well, I guess I got started getting interested in music in middle school.
Okay.
Really is really when I got interested in it. And I came from like a wicked small town. Like my graduating class was 25.
Wow.
So,
wait, 25 people?
Yeah, 25 people in my graduating class. Like
that's insane.
It's tiny. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we didn't have really that many resources.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. We didn't really have like music education, anything like that.
Wow.
So I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life was
of course,
do music production and stuff. But
right.
I guess I just didn't know if I was going to be any good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
And luckily I've been doing okay so far.
So what's your main music like? What's your main instrument that you play?
My main instrument. I play a lot of instruments, but I don't play any really well, I guess. I guess mainly I'm a songwriter and lyricist and composer, and then like a mix engineer, producer, that kind of thing.
That's okay. So like you consider yourself more of like, is it more of like you feel like you understand more of the instruments well, but you just feel like you don't want to play them well, like how they all work in a sense?
Definitely, yeah. Like I know how to write a part for these instruments, but then I don't necessarily have the skill set to play them all the time.
That's interesting because I feel like that's not uncommon, and that doesn't mean you're like not musically trained if you do that, because there are people that like know how the instrument works, but like don't can't play it as fast or play it as like the way they want it,
for sure
stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting now, and I think the key to being a musical producer, and if you can do it right, is if you just know the sounds, it's like, for instance, a conductor. He's not playing, but he has to know every part of the instrument.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, it kind of reminds me of like when I was like in when I studied radio and television at my community college.
Yeah.
Basically, so I did this TV class, and it was basically you work on like the cameras, the graphics, the switchboard, and I was not like like the switcher and all that stuff was the TriCaster, which moves the cameras around and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I was not good at really any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was not by a launch, I was not good at that stuff. But like I could understand how they worked. Like when I had to direct a show for my broadcasting class and all that stuff, like I knew how it worked. Like I knew what needed to be done. I knew what the TriCaster needed to do. I knew what the 3-play machine needed to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it is. I guess like with you, it's like you might not always get the right note of the horn, but like how it works. So when you're producing the song, you can get that guy to do the horn and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. But what is like so have you played in any bands or like?
Well, I've played in I've played in orchestra here. I play trombone. That's probably the only instrument I play well. Going back to the last question, but I don't really like it. But, But I played in orchestra here, playing trombone, and then I was part of the choir here.
Oh,
and,
nice.
I actually just started a band earlier this week with one of my friends. So
that's awesome.
Hopefully you'll be hearing.
Well, I remember because of course, because you and me were in the same organization. I remember you were looking for like a band and all that.
Exactly.
And so what instrument do you play when in the band?
So we're still delegating the roles and like seeing what everyone's going to do. So I don't know. I mean, I could. I don't know what I'm going to be. I'm hoping maybe I can play some bass, play some synthesizer.
Cool.
But probably I'll just be mainly songwriter and producer. So yeah.
Now thinking of that, what's your musical influences and what's like the genres that you love and like decades you love listening to music?
Man, that's a great question.
Yeah.
I like so much music. I like every genre a lot. I like a lot of decades. I would say my absolute all-time favorite is like rock and roll.
Of course.
Rock. favorite decades of that, I'm gonna say for me, maybe like the 90s and 2000s is my favorite, but I also like love 70s, like Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, all that. Like that stuff's just awesome.
What's the 2000s music that you like? Like what groups do you like the most from that?
I'm gonna say, as far as rock goes, Seether, Thrice, a couple other, Three Doors Down sometimes.
Those are groups I have to get like more into because I've been wanting to get more into like groups like the Black Keys, the White Stripes, and all that stuff. Like those are like groups I know that like people always love in the 2000s. And like Gorillaz too. I don't know if you're a fan of those by any chance.
I don't know that much by the Gorillaz, but they seem interesting.
I know like a little bit about them. Like I know my friend's a huge fan of them. And I know, like and I know like people like Elton John like love them and all stuff. And, like he collaborated with them and all that stuff on recent. Like a recent song and stuff. Yeah, but it's interesting too. But like because I do remember because I guess we'll go into a little bit of Digital Music Association. I remember and we've had two people on the show already from Digital Music Association, which was Kato, of course, who was the former president, and we also have Akil, who also goes by Asura as a rapper and all that. He was the president. He's the president of the organization now, and so Evan's the vice president. So like the thing the reason how I found the Digital Music Association is an interesting thing. Well, Kate and I happen to be in the same class in last semester, and he would talk about it a lot. He would promote it, and I remember my professor was saying to everybody like, "Why don't you guys all put your social medias and you guys follow each other?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." So we all just put our social medias in and just ended up following each other. And basically, so what happened was like I saw I followed him, and then like I saw his stuff that he did on TMA and all that stuff. So I checked that out, and then like the thing that hooked me immediately was his post on the Elton John album. Because I was like that is such a like in some ways like it's so rare that you find somebody like talking about like Elton John from like the 1970s Elton John, and I'm like that's awesome because like I love that stuff because he's not just talking about the big hit Your Song, he's talking about something like Take Me to the Pilot and all that stuff, and like Rock and Roll Madonna, and I'm like okay I'm like what is his organization? I think this might be for me
for sure.
And it's like and and I saw I think some of your stuff. I know you did some stuff about Pink Floyd. I think I even saw like your post on like John Mayer and all that stuff. Because it's like John Mayer's also great like 2000 and stuff, and also he's with the dead now too. It's like there's a lot in common there with that.
Definitely,
well now I guess a good question to ask is like what do you think like what are the right tools you think you need to make it as a musician or to make it into the music industry now?
Well, to make it as I feel like making it into the like as a musician specifically and in the industry are different, but like the music industry, so much of it is based off of connections, but now it's easier than ever. Like you can find these connections so easily,
of course.
Especially on campus, like we have so many music majors who are really just interested in the business side of things, and we've got classes here on it, and it's really interesting.
Well, no, okay, I guess that actually makes me wonder to ask another question about do you think that in order to be, because we know in the past like with musicians that like a lot of musicians didn't go to college and yet were able to make it big. Do you think like school of like musician for instance when you're in college, do you think like music classes help musicians nowadays like learn and stuff, or do you think it's like it's not something you could teach, it's something you got to teach on your own?
I mean, that depends. Definitely. I mean, there have been some huge acts that like obviously got together. Well, I feel like a lot of musicians have never gone to college or anything. And they just
rarely.
Rarely, and like their talent is what really shines through and makes them appealing. But definitely, like if you want to get into the industry as more than an artist, which I definitely do, I want to be a producer, songwriter type thing. It's definitely valuable to have that. And there have been a lot of bands that have started on college campuses, like Counting Crows, Coldplay. I believe Queen was started as a college band before Freddie Mercury joined. So like it's definitely helpful.
Well, I know that like Maroon 5, it wasn't college, but it was a high school band. They started as Cars Flower. Because like an interesting thing was I was going to put on the DMA fact that like because Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, his kids went to school with them apparently. with the group and all that with Maroon 5, and like like when they were known as Karis Flowers, and apparently they opened for Crosby, Stills and Nash when they played and stuff like that. And he asked like what happened to them, and they're like, they're giving up, they're gonna become doctors and lawyers and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, that ain't right. They're really good and all that stuff. So they changed to Maroon 5, and there's talk about that because that Adam Levine apparently went to Five Towns College, which is in Long Island.
Exactly.
And I have a friend that goes there, and I was thinking about going there at one point.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. And like, I think the college tries to claim, and I don't know, I mean, maybe they get it from there, but it's like, we always did wonder if it's like, because, Maroon 5, it's 5, and then the colors of Five Towns College is maroon.
Yeah.
So some people are wondering if that's how, I don't know if that's fully how they got their name, but I feel like that college like tries to say they got their name because of us. They try to advertise that.
I never realized that. That's crazy.
Yeah, like when they told us that, I was like, it's a possibility. Like, yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, considering he went there, and Jesse Carmichael too from Maroon 5, he also went there. Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So it's possible. You never know.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's funny. But like, just out of curiosity, like, so now, okay, so you're a senior in college and all that.
Yes.
And do you feel like so you saying that you want to do more than like, just be a musician, be like a producer. Have you like ever thought of like in being in college and like, if like the music part doesn't work, like, have you ever thought of other like careers and all that stuff? Or like,
oh man, yeah, I have a
that if like you contemplated like, do you want to do like more of like, let's say like you want like, instead of maybe like, I don't know, is the music business going out? Do I want to just go into teaching, or like do I want to just do it on the side? Like how do you deal with that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I feel like if the music thing doesn't work out the way I want it to, I feel like I don't want to be a part of music that much anymore. Like I don't necessarily want to be like a music lawyer or, a music business person or anything like that. And I feel like that would, obviously that's what I mainly want to do, but there are only parts of it that I want to do. So like I would try to look elsewhere, and I have other interests. I'm very indecisive when it comes to what I want to do.
Well, now I have a few guests. No, don't worry, man. I'm like that too. So yeah. But I have a few guests that came on and talked about how they don't even want like a record deal, because like now it's like the whole 360 thing. So like because they feel like they don't want to be controlled by people and all that stuff. And do you think it's better to be an independent artist than like be signed by a record label?
Well, it's funny you should bring this up. So I actually have my own record label.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's called Unum Verum Records.
Okay, cool.
And my thing is I feel both ways in that. I don't like the idea of being controlled by a record label of like, okay, these are the albums you can come out with, we're gonna, I guess, censor your art in this way. Even if it's not like censored.
Well, it's also because there's like this whole quota, because it's like, it's when you go into a studio, it costs so much money to like, to be in the studio for like an hour.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And like you said, like a quota of like, okay, we need this much material by this amount. And I want to be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm feeling productive, pump out a lot more material, or not so much, just sit back. So, but there is value in having a record label behind you, because that's distribution deals. That's,
of course.
People recognize other artists from that label and then can associate you with them. It's potential to collaborate with those artists. Like it's a good thing to have for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. For sure and all that. And I mean, like, so another thing I guess I'm curious is what has being at Oswego taught you about like your musician, like as a musician? Like what have you learned as a musician from being here?
I have learned so much. It's unreal. But I guess it's that oh man. I guess I've learned like more fully my capabilities, I feel like I saw myself as doing certain things really well before I came here, and then other things not so well. And now I'm realizing like, okay, I do other certain things pretty well, but like maybe some of the things that I prioritize, I'm not so good at, so I should move away from those.
Right.
And I've just learned like, as far as production goes, like I said, like I've never even, going back to like what I was saying about my school, I didn't see like a Mac computer until I was 18.
Wow.
So like, like just coming here, I've learned so much about how to do music production and all that. Like I knew nothing coming here, and I've learned so much. I feel like.
And like, so I guess in your case, you feel like that like school can help people become musicians, like become better musicians.
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely.
So you definitely would advise that to people, like if somebody came up to you and saying like, they're out of high school, be like, no, I don't want to go to college. I just want to play with my band and do that stuff. Like, would you advise them like, go to school, get you'll learn a lot as a musician, and you think you do?
Yeah, I definitely think it is, because even people who come here like, oh, okay, I strictly play, I don't know, violin. I strictly play violin. All I want to do in life is play violin in Carnegie Hall. They come here and now they get experience. Maybe they pick up a new instrument. They get experience playing different genres that they've never considered before. Maybe they do take an audio production class and learn about like the studio side of things. Like even if you don't learn anything as far as being a musician goes, and like you came in fantastic and you leave fantastic, you will just get so much experience and so many connections. And it's the easiest, most fun, most efficient way to do it.
And like now in your classes, like have you been assigned to play different instruments and all that stuff?
I mean, not really. I came in, like I said, I only really played trombone, and I played that like with the orchestra. But in my classes, I have taken several classes where I've been asked to make pieces and stuff, and so I've just done different things. Sometimes I play guitar, sometimes I play bass, synthesizer, whatever it may be.
Right. Of course. But I guess like another thing I'm curious about is being, because you said you're part of the audio board here, like, or like you're president of the audio room or something like that.
So we have two recording studios on campus, and I am the studio manager. So I'm in charge of all the bookings. I check all the equipment, make sure everything's running smoothly. If there's like a disaster where someone messes everything up, I have to come and fix it. So I do that, and then I also TA every recording class here.
So are you like, would you consider yourself, so you're like an engineer now too in that sense?
I guess I would, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
Which is nice.
Is it easy for you to do? Like, how long have you been doing that stuff, like working with like fixing audio board equipment or having to check an issue?
I guess like, the first time I touched like a mixing board was my first semester of sophomore year, which so 2 years ago now. And since then, I've just been really dedicated to it, and really checking it. And I guess that's it.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's great. And I guess a few things I guess we can wrap up with and all that stuff.
Sure.
Well, one, we have the newsletter for DMA and all that stuff.
Yes.
And I noticed that you have these things called the plugins and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's like where you like represent like audio, where you talk about audio equipment and all that stuff.
Yeah. So if you have experience in I don't know how much experience you personally have, but if you have experience in making music in a computer, you use basically like, there are different programs they use to make music. So like they're called digital audio workstations or DAWs. And to get different instruments and sounds and effects out of them, you have to pretty much buy all these or find all these plugins. So,
of course.
So in the newsletter, I do run a section where I tell people where to get these free plugins that way, because as college students we never have any money, so there are some cool free plugins out there.
That's awesome. And like so are you like, would you say like you're a collector of like these audio boards equipment stuff that you use, or any audio equipment like mics, XLRs, or
I wish I was more, but I have a problem with buying stuff. I have like 3 or 4 microphones. I've got 2 mixing boards right now that I probably don't need. I've got 2 MIDI keyboards. I wish I had more synthesizers. I only have 2 at the moment, and one I hardly ever touch. But
of course.
I try to just use what I have.
Yeah, totally. I totally understand that. And like, what has I guess being at DMA taught you and all that?
Being in DMA has been such a rewarding experience, both last year and this year. It's definitely taught me, last year more so, it was like, how do I work as part of like a group where we each have our own very distinct jobs, but like we're all working towards the same goal. Because like I've obviously worked in a group setting before, but
right?
It's like everyone's working towards the same goal. This was like, okay, we've all got our own thing. Like I was in your position,
right? Of
last
course,
year doing the newsletter, you know. So you know, like I was in charge of like solely the newsletter, but then you know. Like you know, Akil, for instance, you know, who you've had on here, and is the current president, as you mentioned. He was doing all the programming, and like so everyone was in their own lane, but all arriving at the same destination.
No, totally. King of DMA.
Yeah, of course.
But I guess before we can wrap up totally. We can talk about like just a little bit of fun questions. I always love asking my guests of stuff with music. What would you say more, Beatles or Stones?
Ooh, that's tough. Okay, I feel like I'm not that big of a Stones fan.
Okay.
There's like one I really like Beast of Burden.
Oh, Beast of Burden.
Only because this is a stupid story, but you know, I have a classic car. I have a 1978 El Camino.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But I was you know, my dad's an auto mechanic, so we were putting in a new radio into it, and like you know, the second we put in the last connector, like it turned on and that song was playing, and I don't know, it just felt very fitting because it's like a classic.
And you know what's
car,
so funny about that too is because the song came out in '78.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, right. Like, and it's funny too. Like it works more too. Like you know, with, like in the lines, like music on the radio and all that stuff too. You know, like thinking about that at the moment.
So like that song will always have a special place in my heart because it was just like so cool. Like you know, just my dad and I working on this car, and then that song came on. It felt like it was so weird.
That's awesome. It's like you're in the nostalgia and all that.
Exactly. But overall, I would say Beatles because like Helter Skelter, you can't really beat that. You can't really beat that song.
Of course. Well, also too, like, did you see the performance like 2 years ago when he had Ringo Starr and Ronnie Wood come on and perform with him?
No,
it was at Dodger Stadium and all that stuff. Like Ringo and Ronnie Wood like played with him and all that stuff.
Oh, I didn't know about this. I'll have to check that out.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like some new groups I've been listening to. Well, not new groups, but groups I haven't really listened to before. Like I've been listening to the Eagles more, honestly.
Oh, okay.
And like I was listening to a few of their albums, and another person I've been listening to more of Rod Stewart. I don't know if you know that much.
I know. Stay With Me, and that's like.
I know. Like I've been listening to like Every Picture Tells a Story and all that stuff, and like his stuff that he does with the group Faces and all that. Because Faces, like it's funny. I heard of them before. I didn't know that much about them. Apparently, they're actually going back on tour this year. And it's been a while since they've been together, but the people that were in the group were Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood from the Stones and all that stuff, and Kenny Jones, who actually replaced Keith Moon after he died. So he was in. So Kenny Jones played on the last two of the Who records and all that stuff in the 80s and all that.
Cool.
But and it's just like they're all three going together and all, like it's just the three of them or something like that.
That's a cool collaboration.
It's interesting because I mean, Faces is kind of like more of like obscure and I think like underground in some sense. They've got some pretty good stuff. I don't know. If you know too, like another group I've been listening to was I've really got into it because of my dad and all that stuff. Was Little Feat. I don't know if you know them. Chance. They're really good. They're like more obscure 70s stuff. Like Lowell George was like the front man of it. He was really like a lot of people knew who he was because he was just like he was like this guitar god in a sense, and like he was in the same kind of like era as like and hanged around with people like Jackson Browne, Joni Mitchell, and all that stuff. Yet he was the one that never really got the recognition. He would always give songs to other people. There are like songs he did with like Emmylou Harris and Bonnie Raitt, like and there's like some stuff because I think they did some backing vocals for the group when they did the song Dixie Chicken and all that stuff. Because they had a few like really great stuff that I would totally recommend.
I'll definitely have to check it out.
But any like what about Steely Dan? Have you been into them at all?
Oh man, I just learned about Steely Dan like literally a week ago.
Really?
I know what's their big hit?
Reeling
in the Years. Yeah, that song's awesome.
Oh, I love that.
That song's so relaxed.
I saw a video about it, how it was like a really like about like Donald Fagen, the one who wrote it, was about this harsh breakup and all this stuff. And but the thing that's so interesting about their lyrics is that there's so much satire in it. That's what they're known for, is like their sense of humor. Because like for instance, like a song like Real in Years is such a like it's about getting like really like dig in at your ex and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like where it's like I spent a lot of money and I spent a lot of time to strip away in Hollywood on the other mind. And it's like, yeah, all the things you think are useless, I can't understand or something like that. Or the things you think are precious. Like, yeah, like using those lines, it's so interesting. And then like even going more and are you reeling in the years, soaking up the time? And like, but another song that I think works well is that they do that's really kind of sense of humor, but shows just the reality of society is like Do It Again, where it's like you go, but like it's another big hit of theirs that's on that same album, where it's like, you know, and the 3 verses talk about a guy who's cheating, gambling, and violent and doing violent things. And it's like and then the line is like, will you go back, Jack, do it again, wheel turn round and round. So it's interesting that it just shows that it's just like the bad habits that you know are bad, you're just gonna keep doing it. It's just a cycle. It's just it's a cycle. And like that was the thing, and they were known as actually. It's funny because they played with the group Jay and the Americans in the late '60s, and the front man of the group like called them, because their sense of humor was so dry. They called them the Charles Manson and what's the other guy? The other prison, Charles Strickland or something like that. They were like he called them like the Charles Strickland and Charles Manson of rock and roll music.
That's so unfortunate. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. It's like but yeah, like what if like other groups, like when you like play music, like is there any other groups that like are in your mind like that you want to like, you know, like well, like I don't want to say like, you know, be exactly like them, or just like that inspire you to, you know, do more and all that stuff?
Yeah, there are so many. Let me see. I can rattle off a couple.
Sure. Go ahead.
All right, my biggest influence of all time. They're not the coolest band ever. They're kind of hokey, but I don't care. Their name. It's Train. They sing like Soul Sister.
I like Train.
I love Train. Like,
no, I'm actually good that I don't have to like just fake smiling because I was like, I was talking about I'm like, I'm not gonna like make a criticism, but I actually love Train because I like Drops of Jupiter, San Francisco, and of course, Hey Soul Sister. Always love that stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, they've geared more towards like a pop direction, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But yeah, like their first 2 albums to me are just like as if you ask me, they're just perfect. You know?
Right, of course.
And so I really like look up to them more so than anyone else. But as far as like rock goes, I really love Thrice, who I mentioned earlier, and Seether. I really like some classic groups, Led Zeppelin, of course, you know, Pink Floyd, of course, you know. A ton of I'm really into progressive rock. Progressive rock lately. Yes. Yes is probably the biggest one. I've also recently been getting into this German band Eloy.
Interesting.
So you know, a couple of different groups, and then I also make electronic music, as you know.
Right.
And so my biggest influences for that are I would say Daft Punk, who's just iconic. Zed is probably my biggest influence. I love that guy all around. And then World, which is WRLD. He's a lesser known guy, but he's a really big deal to me. But
well, I definitely know who like Daft Punk is. Like, I know they're considered like, you know, like one of the biggest bands of like the 2000s.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, they basically founded like popular electronic music, you know.
And it's funny because it's like in some ways it's like there's stuff that they did, because I know on that like 2013 album they had like the song like Get Lucky, which was Pharrell Williams and all that stuff.
Exactly.
In some ways I feel like they're not like mostly well known. It's like there's stuff that's like well known, because I honestly I don't know their names. Like I forget their names, you know. Which I think like and I know it's like that's kind of their trademark too, of not being like the people in the spotlight, you know, considering having the masks and all that stuff. The helmets. Exactly. Because I think it's like, I think from what I heard, I saw a video about them where it was like talking about that they didn't have the helmet, like that they saw, like, I think their first album, they might have not worn the helmets or something like that.
I watched the same video.
It's probably that same video where then they realized that, like, the helmets were, like, a cool, like, kind of, like, trademark thing.
Yeah, because they definitely, if I remember from this video correctly.
I forget.
Definitely you're correct. The first album, no helmets. And then by the second album, they were like, okay, we're really, you know, hunkering down on, like, this electronic, you know, like, futuristic sound and image. And so that's when, you know, the robots came.
People joke is like if like they go on the street, you might not be able to like recognize them, you know. Like,
you know, definitely. I mean, there was They broke up this year, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. But,
yeah, I heard that. Like, did they do any tours like recently? Like, yeah, what made them break up?
I don't know. They haven't toured in a while, but
then why would they? That's kind of weird that they would just announce they're breaking up and they haven't even been doing stuff in a while.
and that's why it was weird because it was like, yeah, their last album was 2013.
Yeah,
And
so it's
then-
been like already 8 years. So
Yeah, so it
have
was.
they performed like since now?
I don't know. Like they have since then, but I don't know what their most recent thing
Yeah,
was. So like
yeah.
it kind of came out of nowhere. It's like you weren't doing anything anyways, and
Yeah,
it wasn't really
it's,
like
it's kind of well, that is weird because it was like, for instance, like I think that was like the Police in a sense because the
Yeah.
Police like ended in '84, I think, because well, '83 was their last album. I think they toured a little in '84, but then they stopped. But technically, the band didn't officially break up until 1986, even though they
Yeah.
weren't doing anything
Exactly.
at that time. You know, and stuff.
Yeah. I wonder if it's something like they were holding on to like the idea that they could do something else. But I don't know.
Well, it's like with the Beatles, like for instance, like it's like, you know, John Lennon left in '69, yet they had released in 1970 and all that stuff,
Yes.
like Let It Be, and they were still doing some work on it. Even when John Lennon left, they were like doing like one last album to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But like an interesting thing too was like they technically really didn't break up until '75 in a sense, legally, because John, I think, like signed the papers in Disneyland. That's it. Yeah, it started with, I think it was like December of 1974 or something like that, or December 31st or something like that. He signed like the papers that he was no longer a part of the Beatles because the reason why was because when they formed their label Apple and all that stuff, they all had this like contract that they needed to kind of fulfill, even though it was their own thing.
Yeah,
they needed to like still like obey their contract in a sense. And Paul McCartney, I don't know if he got out of it in a sense. I think they all sort of had to do it in all sense, but
probably.
But I know Paul sued all of them to get out because he was in a different management than they were because they wanted to go with a guy named Alan Klein. John thought that he was good because he was helping the Stones make a lot of money, and John thought he'd be good for them to represent them because this was after Brian Epstein died and they needed like somebody kind of representing them.
Yeah,
and so like he had George and Ringo, like back John up by staying with Alan Klein.
Yeah,
but Paul did not go with Alan Klein and went with his wife's father and all that stuff, who was a lawyer and all that stuff.
Okay,
he wasn't in the music industry, but he was a very powerful lawyer at that time, and he basically advised him like what you need to do to identify or separate yourself from this, like because of the contract and all that stuff. And it turned out that Alan Klein ended up ripping them up because he ended up they ended up having to sue Alan Klein, and Paul knew that, like Paul thought he was kind of like a shrewd businessman, so that's why he didn't want to get in business. But they all decided, we'll get in business with him, and John ended up suing him. George, the Stones ended up suing him.
Wow,
so he got a bunch of lawsuits. He I think there's talk that he's like the most hated guy in the music industry.
I mean, it sounds
yeah. There's well, I think Phil Spector is pretty up there too. Considering what he did. Yeah, but he was already known as at that time.
I was gonna say, he kind of already.
He was, because he would like put a shotgun, I think, in the studio. I think he would like do that or something. From what I've heard.
Yeah, no, he was. People have been like,
and some people hated his production too. Like in 1961, when because the song "Twist and Shout," the Beatles did, that was a cover of the Isley Brothers.
Yes.
Before the Isley Brothers did it, there was a group that did it. And Phil Spector was the first guy to record it. The songwriters hated what he did with the song.
Really? Wow.
And it was just like, so then that's how they gave it to the Isley Brothers. And they did it in the way that like they imagined it and all that stuff, like how it sounded. And then the Beatles kind of, took that style the way the Isley Brothers did it. And that's like what's well known of it. But apparently there is the Phil Spector version, and you can tell why people think it's shit.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
But Evan, I'm really glad that you were able to be on the show and all that stuff.
Of course, anytime,
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say or anything?
Oh man. Well, I guess I could shout out.
Okay.
So I just literally a few hours ago finished up a piece with two other students on campus.
Oh, interesting.
Paul Raymond and Rebecca Frank.
Okay.
They so the three of us were contracted by a group of master's music students master's graduate students at Stony Brook, SUNY Stony Brook, to write a piece. And we had to like write all of our own software, which I don't know how to do at all, but we figured it out. So we wrote all of our own software. We wrote a piece, and we Yeah, we gave it to them, and they're going to be going on tour this fall, playing this piece. So they will be coming to SUNY Oswego on November 10th. So if you're interested in weird electronic music, definitely check it out. It's kind of weird niche stuff. It's not necessarily what I would first listen to, but it took a lot of work and it was really cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess that's like an interesting thing too. You've noticed too, because I mean, you seem like you're a guy that's also interested in rap, even though like, would you say rap is not your favorite genre, or like?
It's definitely not my favorite genre, but like I dig it,
like because I remember like I think we talked about like now. You said, is Drake one of your favorite artists, or like out of all the rappers? Or no?
Okay, so in a program, I made a very strong case for
that. Because I remember that. That's why I said that, because I forget. But like I remember like little details, and I remember that, and I was surprised because I know I'm like, this is the Pink Floyd guy, and I was saying Drake is like the greatest rap artist.
Yeah, Drake. I really don't care for Drake. I'm not really. I really don't like any of his songs. I don't like any of his music. He kind of strikes me as just like an odd dude, but someone else who hates Drake is my buddy Akil. And
right. Akil doesn't like him
and he's a lot more outspoken. Me, I'm just like, I don't really like Drake. But he's like, he will go on for days about how he hates Drake. So I make sure I really go hard for Drake.
Well, I told you I didn't know Akil was that like that.
He really
well, because like I told you, my issue with Drake is like when he like apparently broke the Beatles record, he got this tattoo of him waving hi to the Beatles on Abbey Road, and that just pissed like a lot of people. But it pissed me off too, because it's like, come on. And like I remember a guy I watched who talked about it. It's like, well, he's 32, he thinks he knows everything. Like it's like like he was saying something. He was like, when I was 32, I felt like I knew everything. He's just going through his arrogant phase.
Yeah. I mean, I know for me, like, I don't know. It's just awkward because like he has I believe it's God's Plan. He has like a music video where it's like, oh, like my record label gave me like, I don't know, like $3.2 million to shoot this music video, but instead I just gave it to random people. So like the music video is like him going around and like paying for like an old lady's groceries and like stuff like that, and it's like, it is very touching. But at the same time, it's like, why did you have to go so far out of your way to like be like, oh, look at how nice of a guy I am. Look at how nice I am and charitable. Like, it just seems so performative.
It's funny because I remember hearing how big he was about like 10 years ago. Like in like 2010 in middle school, everybody was talking about this guy Drake. It's like, oh, you gotta hear Drake. Drake is awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then like for about a few years, I didn't hear that much about him. Like from like I would say 2016 to 2018. Well, 2016 I remember people talking about him.
Yeah.
But like around there was a time where it's like, oh, maybe he's fading away, because I didn't hear about him until like 2017. Then in 2018 I saw he kind of like reemerged, at least in my eye. I don't know.
Yeah.
He probably always was in the spotlight.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But like I guess in my mind, because I just like I didn't hear about him in a while. But then in 2018 I heard more about him and all that stuff. And well, the funniest thing is I think it's just how he's just become also too, like, those artists that's just been like one of those, like in the butt of the jokes of comedians, for instance, like with like, because I told you, I think like, because I mentioned to you of how like in Spotify, how in streaming services, how in order to make money on it, you have to be like a big artist. Like, and then because somebody asked like, what do you have to be to make like money on streaming services? And the guy said, you have to be Drake. And Trevor Noah made the funniest joke. It's like, whoa, you have to be Drake. That's a lot of pressure, people. You can't be both the biggest pimp and then asking why the girl didn't call you back.
Yeah.
There's no way. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's just like, but like that's the thing too. It's like I've heard from like he definitely seems like a very arrogant person in some ways from what I've heard. But
but at the same time he comes across as like, oh, I'm such a nice guy. I'm so humble. But like, then he's also very
I don't know that much. I mean, like about him. I mean, I didn't know until a few years ago that he got to start on the show Degrassi. That's actually how he got to start. And it's kind of interesting too, because I'm like, that's the way like kind of Ariana Grande too, like with Victorious.
On a TV show,
and it's like, and it was a kid show too, because in a sense Degrassi was like a teen, well, not like a kid show, it was like a teen drama and all that stuff. So it's kind of interesting how like kid shows and stuff like kind of made like two of the biggest celebrities on stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, now just out of curiosity, like what's your thought on like Ariana Grande?
Oh man, well, my girlfriend is probably watching.
Yeah.
So Ariana Grande is fantastic.
I love how you said that. It's like, okay, we'll just leave it like that. We'll leave it like that. So. I guess we'll just leave it like that. From that sense.
No, I mean, in all truth, she's a very talented singer.
And, I think so too. Yeah, I definitely think her songs are good, like in a sense as like her vocals and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And her like I know she doesn't write all her songs, but like the songwriters who she works with and who work with her and her production, it is a cut above of a lot of pop artists. So
I mean, from stuff I've heard, because like I'm not like I won't say I'm a huge like Ariana Grande fan. I don't listen to that much of that type of 2010s music really.
Yeah.
But like when I've heard of stuff, because I remember I had a friend who would like blast that stuff all the time in the car when I was driving into school, and he would have those songs playing all the time, and I'd be like I'm like, oh, this is actually not that bad. Like it's like this stuff is actually pretty good. And I mean, I actually love the song that she did, The Way, with Mac Miller. I thought that was a really cool like first like single and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
And then like I thought that was actually pretty good. And I still every now and then listen to that because I think that's actually a really like catchy song, and I think it worked, like the production on that like worked pretty well in that too.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially considering it was funny because I remember like in the summer when that song came out and how big that song was. I saw it on YouTube and all that stuff. And then like whatchamacallit, like I saw her name coming up on like trending feed. This was like 2013. I'm like, oh god. I'm like, oh wow. It seems like she's getting big now. I'm like, it doesn't seem like because of Victorious. It seems like because of this stuff. And I'm like, oh, she might be like big. She may even be bigger than like Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus. And it turns out she was.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I know, and she has songs I like. I mean, I'm a very big fan of The Weeknd, and she of course has a song with him. Like I said before, I'm a big fan of Zedd, and she has a song "Break Free" with him.
Oh wow!
So she's collaborated with a lot of people who I really like. And
well, I've gotten into The Weeknd a little bit more.
Like,
he's so good. Do you like the new? Like, do you like Harry Styles by any chance?
I love Harry Styles.
Yeah, like, it's funny. Were you a fan of like the One Direction era or no?
I didn't like their earlier stuff because it was a bit too like teenagery. But like I do like some One Direction songs.
Yeah, I mean like some One Direction like because I remember in middle school every guy like did not like One Direction.
Yeah, that was like
it was like if you said you liked One Direction, you would get beaten up by every guy, or you just would made fun of like by every single person.
Yeah, no, I mean like, there were songs by them that I was like, oh, like this is. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean there's some like for instance, well, I mean I even think like What Makes You Beautiful does have like a catchy melody in some ways. Like it actually does. Like looking back at it actually like has that like, and if you think about it, because it's funny, it's like it's like in a sense like I remember me being like this One Direction stuff, but you think about it, it's like that's what maybe people thought of the Beatles, when they were started out.
Because boy band,
because you think about it, like they started out as not like I wouldn't say a silly pop group, but they came out as like a pop group, more pop, more of like like this like oh baby love you, all that stuff, and then they were able to come into these like their own and sophisticated stuff, and that's sort of like what Harry Styles was doing, and I think honestly leaving One Direction helped Harry Styles become more of a solo artist.
Yeah, I mean no, definitely. I mean I was so surprised when his first single "Sign of the Times" came on the radio. Like I said, I was a passive fan of One Direction, and when they broke up, I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's over. I wasn't really going to go search their stuff out anymore. But then Sign of the Times came on. I was like, this is interesting. And I listened to his album. I was like, wow, he really like made this happen for him.
Yeah, because I heard Sign of the Times. I thought that was really great. And then like I remember like hearing when people were talking about Watermelon Sugar, and I'm like, okay, I gotta check this out. And I'm like, oh my god, like this song is really freaking good. And I'm like, I love like Sign of the Times, but I'm like, I gotta say, I'm like, he's actually a really good artist.
He's incredible. Yeah, his new album I think is even better.
And honestly too, I mean, the one artist I know people like change their opinion of like at first being thought he was like not a good musician, but like respected him as a person. Now I hate him as a person, loving his music. Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Do you like Justin Bieber's music? Because I can't get into it even now. I'm just like I'm not like
I can't get into it, but like for a brief period there, he was doing a lot of stuff with like EDM. When EDM had like its little tiny peak. Like so like 2013, 2014.
It's like I can't even describe like what his music is now. Like with the stuff like I got my peaches at Jordan. Like I don't even know like what is that, a rap or rock? Like what is that?
I think that's like people's biggest gripe with him too. Is like he doesn't have his own sound. He just kind of goes to whatever's popular. He's like, I'm a little kid, I'm cute, I'm gonna make like little cute songs, and then it's
I think it's like he's like trying to go in like he's following like the people who got him famous, like Scooter Braun and Usher. Yes, it seems like from what I've heard, because I remember people talking about that they can collaborate on more stuff together. Like the old team has been getting back together.
Yeah, and I was gonna say. Didn't Usher do like his latest album? Like
I think so, and I think Scooter Braun was involved in that too. I think they were the two people who I think discovered him. I think when he was on YouTube, like when he was like only like 14 or something.
Yeah,
but I mean, I never like listen. It's like like I thought like I mean I think he's done some things that are not cool. I think Bieber and all that stuff, but I mean, I think it's like he's done. I respect like what he's done as a music artist. I can't say that like he's done nothing. I mean, he's definitely is successful in a sense,
especially for how young he is.
Yeah, for how young he is, and I think there is definitely. I think hearing his voice, I think he does have some kind of incredible range in a sense. In some ways.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna like completely diss on Justin Bieber. I think there are some stuff that is pretty good. I just like I don't know if I'll ever be a fan of it. Like, because I was like, I never really got into his music, and I don't know if I'll ever be a fan. I mean, who knows? I mean, I never thought I'd be into like one people from One Direction. So you never know.
True,
I mean, they could change, but it's like the difference with Harry Styles and Justin Bieber is like Harry Styles at least has a sound that he does that's his own.
It's distinct.
It's distinct. It's like it's going into like a rock sound, taking a little bit of the roots of like stuff like that Bruno Mars does, as like going back to like 60s, 70s, which is good. But Justin Bieber, it's like I don't know like what it's like I don't know what he would be considered now, because like the Peaches and Georgia song sometimes sounds like it's like a rap or like a mix of that stuff, and it's like all auto tune too. It's like it sounds auto tune. It's like what the like why not sing a regular voice too?
Yeah, I think his regular voice is good.
Yeah, well, I do remember hearing like the song 2012 that I thought like was catchy, the one he did with Big Sean, like As Long As You Love Me.
Oh, I forgot
about
that.
I remember hearing that, and I'm like, okay, that's not a bit like the chorus is kind of catchy. I mean, I remember when he went into stuff like doing like Boyfriend, people thought like he was going more like in his raunchy phase and all that stuff. I don't. Yeah, because I remember like oh, it's a more raunchy song. I'm like, I never really heard Boyfriend that much. I mean, I remember when it was sort of a big song. But like I said, I never was like that much of a Bieber fan. All that stuff. And I remember people still. I mean, there are still a lot of people that love to like shit on him and all that stuff. But like I think it's just like he's just it's like I respect what he does, but I'm probably not going to ever be into his music. But
for sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, oh wow! So we're going on for like 45 minutes.
Dang!
I'm glad that we were able to like really get a chance to do this too.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're always welcome to come back on. Maybe we can do more of a panel. Maybe we can do something with Keel and Kato and all that.
Oh yeah, the DMA panel.
Yeah, because I did something like that because I had because I told you about when I was in Long Island. Me and my friend went to this club. It was called the Velvet Lounge.
Yes. Yeah.
And we had a few people in this. I don't know if you've seen the interviews and stuff.
I haven't had a chance to watch it.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We've had a few people who were on it and all that stuff, and they've collaborated together, and we decided to do a video with the three of them together and all that stuff. So like that would be perfect if we could do something like that, with the three of you guys and do like a DMA because it would totally work well too, because we have like a total like title for that. So that would be something that would work well,
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would so be down.
Anytime. All right. Well, Evan, pleasure to have you on. This is Question About the Magic. Thank you guys for watching on stuff. This will also be, of course, even though you didn't catch it live, that's okay. It'll be here forever and on stuff. We also have the links below. I will also put Evan's stuff in the link too. So yeah.
Yes.
All right. So thank you guys, and see you guys in the next live. Bye.